Hey, what is up, Team Beyond the Week? Check it out. We are going to go through an entire back, bi, and tri day together. You guys always ask me, what's your full routine? Set for set, exercise for exercise. And I thought the easiest way to do this was to literally take you through an entire workout. Full rest periods, full timing, like everything is literally in real time. You're seeing the entire workout. So yes, this video is going to be pretty long. It's going to be about 60 minutes long. So it may not be in your best interest to watch the whole thing at once. Maybe you watch it in parts, but the full workout will be provided below this video in the description below. So if you don't want to actually watch set for set every single thing, you can just skip right down there, see the exercises yourself, maybe skip around the video for some form tips, and then go do the workout yourself. But I thought it would be good to give you guys all the insight I can, all the input I can on these workouts, and basically what I do on my workout days. Now, if you guys aren't aware of my routine that I've created about 2 years ago, I created something called Lohilo, L-O-H-I-L-O, and the principle was that for 3 days you do high weight, low reps, and then for 3 days you do high reps, low weight. It's now morphed into something a slight bit different, but the actual split is the same. So the split consists of a chest and shoulder day as one day, a back, bi, and tri day as another day, which is what you're seeing right now, and then a leg day, and then you repeat those 3. And so now, instead of doing extremely heavy weight for all 3 days, what I'll do is I'll do those 3 days and then repeat them 3 days, and basically every single time is the same workout. I do a heavy first 3 or 4 sets. I'll do a lot of weight, and I'll aim for something like maybe 4 to 8 reps, depending on what exercise it is. And then from that point on, though, I will move into higher reps. So I'll probably aim for somewhere around 8 to 16 reps, depending again on the exercise itself. And I'll use a lot lighter of a weight. Again, my goal here is to gain size, not so much strength. So I'm aiming for that higher rep, that hypertrophy area. But again, if you're trying to do a mix of it, you can do high weight. Sometimes do like those strength days, those first 3 days all strength, and work on increasing your actual powerlifting, your strength, and the other 3 days can be a size based thing, so you can do like power building that way, or you can do all strength and just do it as a powerlifting routine. But for me, guys, my goal is to be a big bodybuilder. I don't care at all about powerlifting. I enjoy lifting heavy weights, but I'm not gonna ever compete in powerlifting. I'm always gonna compete in bodybuilding, and I love trying to get big. So that is what we're gonna train about. That is what we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna tell you guys what I do and why I'm doing it. And you guys are seeing me use the Iso-Lateral pull-down machine. Now, this is one of my old favorite machines because it really mimics what you should be thinking of when you're doing any sort of rowing or pull-down motion. You're thinking about pulling your elbows down towards your hips, right? In an arcing motion from in front of your face down to, directly above your hips. But the thought is that you're thinking of pulling your elbows, or pushing them, however you want to think about this, pulling your elbows through the ground. Not literally just pulling your hand to your chest or pulling your elbow to the bottom of your rib cage. Those things are going to make you use your biceps a lot, use your forearms a lot. But when you start thinking literally about engaging your lats by allowing your elbow to abduct from your body, come away from your body as far as possible, feeling that lat stretch out, and then pulling with that lat, pulling that elbow down through the floor, it's gonna activate that lat so good. So much better than you have before. Like, if you've never thought about doing the whole elbow trick, think about pulling from your elbows, using your elbows to do back days, and think about pulling your elbows down, not only backwards towards your body. If you start thinking about those things, you're literally going to change the entire way you train your back. Like, my back training has been revolutionized over the years by learning these tips and tricks. And now the reason I want to make these videos more often for you guys, I want to show you guys these educational videos, is because I've trained for so long, and it took me so long to figure out these tips, these little tiny angles, these little things that change everything up. But now I can just give you that information. I can just tell you, think about pulling your elbows through the ground. That was something I wish someone would have told me my first year of lifting. Now, by the way, guys, you might be wondering, why am I so sweaty? If you are seeing me in the commentary, I am sweaty because it is so hot and I just got back from a workout and I jumped right into this. Also, guys, don't expect very much editing. I'm just recording this all at once because I think it's more raw that way. I used to watch these types of full workout bodybuilder videos with like Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, all those big dudes, Branch Warren, and I used to get so much inspiration. Now they do those videos a little bit less often because there's so many people online that you can learn from, so it's a little less niche and exclusive when a bodybuilder comes out with a full workout. But I remember remember it was so natural. They would just sit there and talk to you, watching the screen, watching themselves work out. They just talk to you through the entire workout, just give you an insight and ideas of what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I thought it was such a natural way to, you know, kind of dive into the mind without there being very many scripts or anything. It's just all very impromptu. So if you hear any sort of cars going by, garbage trucks, if you hear a garage opening, LP moving around downstairs, something like that, don't worry about it. It's just a little bit of background noise. It's just making it a little bit more spicy for this commentary. So I've moved now from Iso-Lateral pull down machine, and I always start my back days with some sort of large compound. I don't like to start with an isolation movement so much. I usually like to start with some big heavy compound. So I did that Iso-Lateral pull down. I was going to do lat pull downs on the cables, but somebody was on it. That's what we were joking about and smiling about just now. So we did that first exercise. I don't remember how many sets I did. I honestly don't really count the sets too crazily. I don't sit there and think, oh, I've got 3 sets to do this, and my 3rd set I need to get this weight, I need to get this percentage, blah, blah, blah. I do my stuff by feel a lot. And remember, I am bodybuilding, and I have done this for a really long time, so I know where my body is, and like when I'm feeling more fatigued or less fatigued, I should do more or less sets here. If I'm feeling more of an engagement in my upper chest or lower chest or whatever, I should do this exercise instead of this exercise. If, you know, last week I did biceps first, I should do triceps first. There's all these things that I think about, but yeah, we're moving on right now to pull-ups, superset with cable pullovers. And so those always have different names, that's why it took me a second there. But what I'm basically doing here is I'm going to go for about 6 to 10 reps, depending on how many sets we're getting in here. It's going to get lower and lower in reps. And I'm really trying to think about engaging my back. I could rep out more reps on the pull-ups, but my point here is to think about letting my lats fully stretch out, come apart from my back and my arms when I come to the bottom movement, and then squeeze them tight when I come up to the top of the movement. After that pull-up set, you immediately jump into cable pullovers. Now, when I say immediately, I will take about 10 seconds to breathe, full 3 breaths, get my blood back into my body, get the oxygen back into my head, and then you're gonna move into this. Now, the idea here with these pullovers is that you're engaging your back. Obviously, you're doing this on back day. You could do this for chest too, but it's a completely different day, right? Our point is to aim on the back, right? So again, you're thinking about pulling your elbows down through the ground and also to your hips. You want to keep your hand out of the idea of the movement. You don't want to think about pulling your hand down to your hips because you're going to use your triceps a lot. You're going to use a lot of forearms. But when you think about just sitting there and pulling your elbows down through the floor, you got your chest up, you got your shoulder blades pulled together, and you're letting your chest, you're letting your lats stretch all the way out as you're letting the cables come up. Feeling that stretching your lats. It's so important to me. When I'm doing back exercises, feeling that stretch in the lat, it tells you that you're completely released on the contraction, and now you are ready for an entire 100% full contraction again. So I feel like that's super important. Once you feel that trigger at the top of the movement, and then you're coming down, keeping your chest up, squeezing your elbows, not only down through the ground, but also trying to touch them behind your back. That idea helps squeeze those lats down a lot. And that exercise helps activate the lats. Essentially, a lot of people have a lot of trouble either activating their biceps or their triceps too much. But when you go into this cable pullover, look at me, I'm shaking my arms out because it's so pumped. When you go into this cable pullover, you take out a lot of that bicep, and you force yourself to either use your triceps a lot or your lats a lot. And as you get better at this movement and you understand this movement more and you understand how to manipulate it to hit your own body better, you are gonna get a better lat contraction. And when you find that, you can use this exercise as a mind-muscle connector, meaning that you are going to do this exercise to start the pump or ignite your lats, get them firing correctly, and help your mind think about the angles and whatnot that you need to move your body to get your lats to pump. And then when you move on to other exercises, pull-ups, seated cable row, pull-downs, whatever back exercise you move into next, you're going to already have your lats engaged. It's going to be a lot easier for you to use your lats while doing those pulling motions. Keep your other muscles out of the movement, like for example your triceps or your biceps. Now, when I'm doing my rest periods here, you're probably wondering how long are these? Why am I doing my rest periods that long, etc., etc. It all depends on the day. Some days I'm going to go a little heavier, so I'm going to use a little longer of a rest period. I'll aim for something like a minute to a minute and a half. And that's generally kind of like the average. That's what I usually aim for when I'm going, because I'm trying to do like a medium pace and medium weight as well as medium to high reps. Other days I'm going to go a little longer and we use a heavier weight, and other days I'm going to go higher reps, lower weight, and just mad intensity. I'm trying to go as fast as I can while still allowing myself enough rest to be able to hit the next set optimally and actually still do work. You don't want to burn yourself out and just do 20-second rest periods. Because think about this. Think about it like being a sprinter, right? You want to sprint, right? But if you just only sprint, you're gonna not pace yourself. You're gonna run out of energy, and then you're gonna have these crappy sprints from that point on if you just burn yourself out in the first 20 minutes exercising. So you need to pace your rest periods so that the work that you are performing, while it is being done in quick succession, is also long enough apart that you're doing it optimally. You're performing whatever exercises and sets optimally instead of just bursting through a workout and getting like 0 reps done, getting form all over the place and whatnot. And what I will admit that I am going a little faster than I usually go on this workout. So in terms of my form, in terms of my strength, I'm a little bit weaker in this workout. I remember I was pretty damn dehydrated as well doing this workout because this is the Father Gym, Village Gym, or Fitness 101. There's a bunch of different names. We call it the Lair though, personally call it the Lair. And this gym is so hot, it has no air conditioning, just like Barbell Brigade. It's ventilated, you know, there's fans and stuff, but it's all hot air. So as soon as I start working out, I mean, you're already seeing me work out, you know, what, 10 minutes into this, and I'm sweating so hard. I'm just absolutely dying. So that fatigues me a lot too. So that's something to keep in account for myself, but also for you guys to think about. If you're gonna go to a hot place, make sure you get in that water. You see, I didn't even remember that this was happening, but I already am going for more water. Water is so important. If you miss out on water, you go into a workout dehydrated, you're already behind, right? Because then you're just gonna get more dehydrated. But as you go into your workout, you should be sweating, and not everyone's gonna be sweating crazy like me. You know, the more muscle you have, the more heat you're gonna produce and whatnot, and the faster you're gonna get hot. But you should be sweating, and as you sweat, think about how big your surface area is, your skin is. If you're just sweating a little bit, but you stretch all your skin out and then you wiped it with a sponge, you'd be pulling a decent amount of water off of that just slight bit of sweat. Now think about if you're sweating hard like the way I do. If you're sweating really, really hard, then you're gonna be squeegeeing off sweat. You're gonna be pulling gallons and liters of water off of that skin. And so if you don't replace that water, not only you're gonna not be as strong and whatnot, but your pumps are gonna go away because your blood is, a lot of your blood volume is water. And if you're out of water, you don't have as much water, you don't have as optimal blood essentially. You don't have the same amount of blood volume you should have. The thickness of your blood is not as optimal as it should be for performance. And you aren't gonna be able to gorge your muscles, move blood around your body, move nutrients around your body, and move waste byproducts out of your muscles after doing these sets. The more hydrated you are, the faster you can get that burn, you know what I'm saying? You can get that out of your muscles quicker. You can get all sorts of terribleness moving out of the muscles so that you can quickly recover for the next set. Otherwise, if you're not drinking enough water, oftentimes I'll feel myself fatigue really quick, get very exhausted, but also my pump will just be non-existent. I won't even be able to get a pump, and the burn will just stay there. It just won't go away. But when I'm well hydrated, all that pump, all that burn goes. The pump stays, the burn goes. The burn goes every single set, real quick, real quick, real quick. So I guess that really comes down to hydration. So make sure you're staying hydrated. Now the next thing I'm doing here is a cable pull down. Now do remember that I am slightly asymmetrical because I have a little bit of scoliosis, meaning that my right shoulder is a little bit lower, I believe, than my left shoulder. It might be the other way around. But basically I have a slight bit of a curve in my spine. So I do have to sort of adjust for that myself, and that's something that you shouldn't have to do yet if you're new, or maybe you might have to do that as well if you have some sort of spinal deviation. What I'm doing with this lateral pull, or with this cable pull down, it's my third exercise, so it's probably gonna be one of my last heavy things that I do. I like to grab right at that bend of the bar. A lot of people ask where you should grab, and it really depends on your limb length. If you're a taller guy with longer arms, the wider you go, the more it's gonna feel more natural for you to go wider. Not necessarily super wide. It doesn't mean that if you're a tall guy, you need to have super wide grip, but your normal grip is gonna be a little bit wider than a shorter person's grip. So for me, at 6'1" with pretty fairly long arms, I like to put my index finger right at that bit of a bend, and I like to squeeze with my index finger mainly, and the rest of the fingers and the thumb, I suppose, are sort of just there to feel the bar, but really I'm pulling, you can see I'm pulling right through my index finger and my ring finger here because I'm going a little bit more narrow. You're going to get, a lot of people think that if you go wide on the grip with pull downs, you're going to get wider. I used to think this as well, and if you're going more narrow, you're getting thicker forward and backwards. I used to believe this, you know, this is bro science that's been perpetuated since I was starting lifting 8 years ago, but it's not necessarily true. I actually find that the more narrow I am on a lift, the more lats in total that I'll engage. I'll use my lats more. When I'm going wider, I'll notice that my shoulder blades, my scapula, are coming out and coming back together as I'm going up and down in the movements. So I'm using a lot more of my trap muscles, my rhomboid muscles. I'm not using as much of my lats, and I am still using my lats, but I'm not giving a focus on my lats. If I go too narrow, I'll notice that my biceps, my arms are getting more of a pump than my back. So it's really up to you to find that sweet spot, and I cannot tell you where it's going to be for you. It's going to be different for every single person, but when you find that spot, what you should feel is your lats, all your lats. I mean, you're going to feel your biceps light up a little bit, but you should be able to keep your chest up and allow your lat to really come flap out like a big piece of meat, you know what I mean? You want to have your shoulder blades pulled together and let your lats come out by allowing your elbows to get that natural path and pull your lat out. I know it's kind of hard to explain, to be honest. Do this without weight first. Do this exercise with no weight, with maybe just the bar on 15, or don't even use the bar, and just pull your hands down to your body, pull your elbows down to your body by moving your arms up and down, and feel where you're contracting those lats. You're gonna have to push your chest up big time. You're gonna pull your shoulder blades together, and that's the bottom of the movement. That's squeeze, tight, tight, tight. Now, as you go up, just try to hold that squeeze as you go up, and you'll feel the movements, at least close to what the movement should be, for you to continue squeezing your lat muscle while performing this exercise. Now, you'll see that I'm rapping a lot. You're probably wondering why I'm doing that. For me personally, my mindset when I go into a workout like this, generally what I like to do, and by the way, I'm not texting, I change my song about once every set. I have ADD. My mindset generally when I'm working out usually is intense. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's angry, but for the most times it actually is sort of angry or like violent, not malicious. I'm never thinking about hurting people or anything like that, but I'm getting into like this very dark, ethereal thought process. So right now I'm probably listening to some super gangster music, and when I listen to that gangster music, it's kind of like a theme song for me, so I'm kind of getting into whatever mode that is. So if it's a guy talking about how, you know, he's been trying for so long, he's been out for so long, people didn't recognize him, I'm relating that to myself and then taking out those same emotions but on the weight instead of on the song. Personally, I feel like your mindset is so important. I feel like a lot of people don't even realize that mindset is a thing you have to go into the workout with. I feel like a lot of people think that you just kind of show up, you do the 6 reps, you do the 6 reps, you do the 8 reps, you do the 12 reps, now you're done with 4 sets. But it's not about that, man. If you aren't able to really push yourself, just like, get down in there, grab it, squeeze it, tear it up, and then spit it back out. If you can't do that, you're gonna get to a decently good level of fitness. But it's going to be very hard for you to get yourself to whatever your elite level is. You're going to be somewhere around intermediate to professional as far as what your skill set's going to, you know, come out as. But it's going to be very hard for you to get that elite level of a workout because you're not able to reach down and find that like dark energy and like push yourself. And I know this sounds a little crazy, this might sound a little bit like hippie magic to you guys right now, but I think it's so damn important. I feel like it's been lost and forgotten a lot. Your mindset when you go into a workout, how intense you can seriously get, how focused you can get, and how hard you are truly pushing. I don't suggest failing for every, you know, set. And by the way, what we're doing right now is you can do this on any fly type of cable machine where there are 2 cables, and you're gonna put just the single handles on them, put them above your body, doesn't matter how high you need to do it, but basically you're gonna try to let your lats come out, and it's kind of like a lat fly. You're gonna let your lats come out. It's the same idea as everything, and then as you're twisting down, or as you're coming down, pulling your elbows together behind you and through the floor again. And you can see my hands twist here as well. They twist a slight bit inwards as they come down and outwards as they go up. Yes, see that? I really like this exercise, but at this gym, this exercise is not the same one that I'm used to, so I'm actually not really favoring this during this workout right here. I'm still trying to figure it out while I'm doing this. But generally, I really enjoy this workout, this exercise, and I do this pretty much as a finisher for just about most of my back days, just about all my back days actually, because it's like a fly, it's a chest fly, but for your back. It's really, really good. Now, what I was saying about failing earlier is a lot of people have talked about failing being the most important thing, and then for a while there, it was like if you were failing, then you were doing the most inoptimal thing for your body. You know, it's the most dumb thing, stupid thing ever to do, to fail. To fail, excuse me. But when it comes to my training, personally, just because of my own mindset, remember, man, everybody's different. My own mindset is very competitive and very intense, and when I want to do something all out, I want to do it all out. When I'm competitive about something, I want to go as hard as I can physically push myself. I like to see how hard I can push myself with my mind, my mentality, and see where it takes my body. So if I can get myself to that point where I'm literally about to fail, and then I just keep going and I try to push another rep out, and maybe I only get to 50% of the rep, but that whole 4-second grind I'm pushing, for me that feels like I'm doing everything I can. It feels like I'm putting all my chips in. I'm putting every ounce of energy in as I can. And it's not what you should do for every set, no, because it's not the smartest thing. If you burn yourself out, like I was talking about earlier, if you burn yourself out, then the quality of your sets are going to be low. And you don't want the quality of your sets to be amazing for the first 20 minutes and then just be pissed for the rest of the workout. So remember to pace yourself and maybe stop 1 or 2 reps before you completely fail on sets earlier in your workout, so that you can continue and not fail out towards the end of your muscle groups or whatever. So if you're hitting chest, you don't want to fail out at the last exercise. It's very hard to say whether you should fail or not, because there's so many studies and whatnot. Personally though, I do like to go close to failure on most things, and not on every single thing, but probably about 80% of the stuff I will go close to failure on. You'll see that I'm sweating a lot. I want to point this out just one more time. Simply because if you are sweating this much, if you're someone that sweats as much as I do, please make sure that you rehydrate, because it is so damn important when it comes to your performance. Because right now we're rounding up my back day. We're gonna move into arms pretty soon here. But if I don't hydrate, I will lose about 26 ounces of water here during this back day, and I'll move into my arm day and I'll have no endurance left. Okay, you'll see how bad those repetitions were at the end there. A lot of you might want to point that out. Definitely, it helps me to be able to watch this video of me working out. I don't often get to watch a full routine of me working out. And while you might be feeling like your repetition is perfect, you might feel like it looks a certain way or is performed a certain way, until you see it from another person's perspective or from the lens's perspective, you don't truly know exactly what you are doing. So I will say that I feel pretty damn good about my workouts. I feel like I know how to do them correctly. I feel like I know how to work my body, but I will say I'm not perfect by any means. And by watching this video even just now, right now, I'm seeing a lot of things that I want to fix. I don't think that I'm training ineffectively, but I do feel like there are some things that I would lighten up the weight on and perform with a little bit better form. I will say again though that I'm not completely used to the exercises at this gym. So now I'm finishing up my back day and I'm trying to figure out what I want to go to next. Usually this is how I do it. I like to spend about 60 to 70 minutes during my workout. So I'll take whatever muscle groups it is I have and I'll split them up into that. So if it's a chest and shoulder day, what I'll do is I'll give myself about half an hour for my chest, give myself about 10 to 15 minutes for my middle delt, 10 to 15 minutes for my rear delt, and then 10 to 15 minutes for my traps. That usually takes me about 65 to 80 minutes, and that keeps me in that right range of where I want my length of my workouts to be. For this back, bi, and tri day, I'll try to do 30 minutes for back, and then I'll do biceps and triceps 15 and 15 and a little bit abs at the end there. So that's just how I like to split it up, just for you guys to know that. It's not necessarily for me about the volume of sets or reps, it's more so about the amount that I can fit into that amount of time while still being effective with my training. Now what I'm doing right here, what you're seeing me do, you probably wonder what the hell is this? Is this the first set of something? It's not the first set of anything. I always use sort of a narrow grip like military press and then a French press on the barbell, and I'll grab something super light like 40 to 60 pounds and do those presses over, and then I'll do the French press skull crusher style looking thing. And all that does is essentially, all that's basically doing is allowing me to find my tricep and squeezing with my tricep as I'm pressing overhead. And then 2, I'm keeping my tricep very tight. I'm being very actively squeezing my tricep at the top of the movement, and then letting my hand fall down and stretching my tricep out, and then contracting my tricep. Basically, all this is just a light warm up without you having to go back and forth between the barbell rack and the skull crushing bench that you're doing with different weights as you move up. I like to do maybe 2 to 4 sets of those warm ups, and after I've gotten my initial warm up, in the beginning of a workout, I'll probably spend about 10 to 15 minutes of warming up before I do my first work set, and that's a very smart thing to do. You should warm up. But then after I've already warmed up and I've done all my first muscle group, so let's say that's back, then I'll only spend about 2 to 3 sets warming up my biceps or my triceps, because they're already getting that engagement from previous, you know, from being worked out during rows and whatnot, things like that. So now we're moving on to skull crushers here after we've gotten that French press warm up. And the point here is to think about, I like to grab that outer little knurling there, that little curve. I like to switch between both, but that's the most natural feel, is that second one on the outside there. I like to try to keep my elbows in, although you will see that my elbows are flared out a little bit. It's different, again, for every single person, how flared out your elbows should be out or how narrow they should be in, because everyone's limb lengths are different. But your point here is you want to feel it in your tricep. A lot of people won't feel their triceps engage when they're doing skull crushers because they're doing something wrong. They're moving their elbows too much forward or backwards, or they have their elbows way too flared out or way too flared in. This is such a specific exercise, and it's not something that we can break down without doing a full coaching session. But a couple of rules of engagement here with this. When you set up and you're sitting down with the barbell on your hips, squeeze the bar really tightly, squeeze your triceps really tightly, and feel the contraction of your tricep, as well as squeezing the bar really tightly with your hand to feel a lot of control on that weight. When you lay back, keep your shoulder blades together and pinched, and basically you're setting up just like you're doing a dumbbell bench press. So you're keeping your shoulder blades super, super tight, and that's serving as your pad to push off of. So essentially it's your upper traps. You're using those as the pressure point for the bench. So you're gonna push the weight off your body, straighten your arm out, then give it a slight bit of a bend before you start the movement, just that slight little pop where your arm is now not locked out straight. And trying to keep your elbow in by twisting your humerus together, your elbows in, that's where you want to start. But your elbows will decide where they want to go as you go. Just try to keep mindful of keeping your elbows narrow. You see me set up right here, straight up, and then I'll bend my arms just a little bit. This time I'm doing a narrow grip instead of a wide grip, which means my elbows will flare a little bit more. But you see the elbows are relatively narrow. They're not too wide. They flare a little bit, but that's a very natural path from right there. My elbows don't hurt here. I've had elbow problems in the past, and I know a lot of you have as well, a lot of people have, where your elbows get kind of like itis, they get inflammation. So when you're doing a skull crusher, like this is just hell for them. Like especially if you have those elbow pains, I'm sure you're watching this clip right here, right now, and being like, oh God, that looks painful. And I feel you. Skull crusher is definitely one of the more painful exercises when it comes to elbow problems. And so you have to be very careful about the way you go about them. When I do skull crushers, if I have any elbow pain at all, I'll stop the skull crusher and move right to cables. Cables, I never have an elbow issue at all. But when I do have elbow issues, it's definitely with free weights, dumbbells or barbells. So be very cautious. And when I do have issues with skull crushers, it'll take me about 2 to 3 months until I'm feeling regular again, feeling like good enough to do them. And then I'll test them out a little bit, give them 1, maybe 2 sets, see if they feel good. If they don't feel good, then I just stay the hell away from them again for another 2 months or something and let myself recover. You never want to push yourself into injury just because you want to do a certain exercise that you might think is super cool or is on someone's workout plan or whatever. Now look at me, check it out, check it out, check it out. This is so serious. I'm so damn serious. Look at this, I'm getting all pissed. The way I train, like I said, I have to get very intense and I have to get very pissed. It's really the only way for me to engage the whole time and give myself 100% the whole time, because if I get out of that piss mode, if I get out of that intense focus, then I'll get distracted. And I'll be able to go hard, but I won't be able to go hard to the point where I get to that last few reps where you're like, okay, I could stop now. But then you're like, you know what though? I ain't gonna stop. There ain't no reason for me to stop. And then you just push, you know, and you finish the set with just pain. You know, you just drop the weight and you just seize it. You're like, ooh, it hurts. But it's such a good feeling to push yourself to that level. So I'm finishing out one of my last sets of Skullcrushers here. You'll see my legs are super wide. I know this is kind of weird. I do some weird stuff with my feet. Ever since I was a kid, I was always like a weird like duck stander. I would stand with my feet all ducked. But when I set up for like a chest press or a machine or any of these benches and stuff, I like to keep my legs really wide. It keeps me nice and stable. And I think that has to do a lot with how long my femur and my tibia is. So it's harder for me to keep them like really close to the bench because they're so tall up. Now I'm moving the weight down a little bit here because on the last set I was feeling that my repetitions were, my form on the repetitions were starting to deteriorate. And that's something that's normal, right? You're using a certain weight and then you're doing reps and then you're trying to copy that for the next set. You're trying to do another set with that same amount of reps and then you're trying to do that over and over and over. But you're getting weaker, you're getting more fatigued. So of course the exercise is getting a lot harder. Look at that sweaty bench, sexy. So if you don't adjust the weight downwards, but you're continuing to use the same weight and try and aim for the same reps, you're either going to drop in reps or you're going to drop in form to get the same amount of repetitions. So you're going to drop in quality of form. And remember, quality of form is so important for bodybuilding. For bodybuilding, you want that deep connection with your muscles. You don't necessarily care so much about how many repetitions you perform, what weight you PR'd onto. What you want is, you want like a mind-muscle connection PR. You want like a muscle contraction PR where you feel like you squeezed your body harder than you have before. You got a bigger pump than you have before, and it's a lot less objective and a lot more subjective. It's a lot more about each person's feel and a lot less about, you know, standards like, you know, hitting a 3-plate bench. There's no doubt that that is a 3-plate bench. This is more about feeling what works for your body. So now I just did a bit of a lighter set there. I worked specifically with sort of slower negatives. A lot of times when I finish out a certain exercise on my last set of that exercise, just to kind of give it the full roundabout, I like to give that last set a lot slower negatives. And slow negatives are always good because negatives are really where you're connecting with that muscle, where you're growing the muscle, and where you're tearing it up at a microscopic level. So you want to make sure that you're controlling the negatives every single time you're doing any exercise. A lot of people will just push, and they're just doing reps, but they're not slowing the weight down after they push the weight. They're always just letting it bounce on them, or they're letting it fly up. You got to make sure that you make your negatives very controlled. Your eccentrics are very controlled because that's where you're going to gain muscle at. That's where you're going to gain that size and that shape, and it's very important. Now, what I'm moving on to here, this is generally how I do my tricep days. I go with some sort of free weight, dumbbell overhead, maybe French press, barbell, Skullcrushers, whatever it is, and then I'll go to a cable, and I'll generally do cables for the entire tricep day. Now I know this is a little counterintuitive. A lot of people think that you should do like all free weights or at least try to vary it up all the time, but I feel like if when it comes to triceps, there's not a lot of movements in the first place, and if you find movements that really work well with you and give you a well-rounded tricep, hitting your long head and your medial head and all that, then you should continue doing those because they're obviously working well. If you're forcing yourself to do things that are never working well for you, then you might be doing things that your body doesn't want to do. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try things that you aren't good at. Like if you want to learn how to military press, you're obviously not going to be good at it the first time you try it, so you're going to have to try at that over and over and over. But like if you never get a good workout by doing dumbbell overheads and Skullcrushers with barbell, then you should give yourself one exercise at least that you know you'll get a good contraction and a good workout in. So at least you are getting a good workout while still learning the new exercise. And for me, cables of any type are 100% amazing for my triceps. You'll see what I'm doing there is I'm letting my elbow come up a little bit when I come to the top of the movement, and that is something that I personally and a lot of other people have told you not to do. And that I feel like that's one of those pro tips that is really only okay because I've done this so many times. I've done this workout so many times. I've lifted so many times. I've felt my triceps so many times. So it's okay because I'm manipulating in a correct way. But when you're doing that tricep extension, you want you want your elbow to stay below your shoulder as much as possible, right? That's very important so that you can get a good contraction in your tricep. If you let your elbow move in front of your shoulder, come up from your body and in front of your shoulder too much, then you're gonna be using a lot of rear delt, you're gonna be using a lot of forearm, you're gonna be using the wrong, you're gonna be using a lot of lats, and you're just gonna be using the wrong muscles. You're obviously only trying to isolate your tricep here. When you disallow your elbow, see, from coming forward, you're keeping that stress and that engagement on the tricep. So when your hands are coming up, the stretch is coming from the elbow, from the tricep, instead of from your bone. Your bone isn't moving forward to make up for the fact that your hand is moving up towards the cable pulley. What's happening is your bones are staying in place so that your muscles have to slide around the bone. They have to move around the bone, stretch out, and contract fully. So when you do these tricep pushdowns, my point here is try to keep your elbow tucked into your sides, left and right, try to keep them tucked in, and also forward and backwards tucked in. When you come to the top of the movement, try not to let your elbow move too far away. It can move slightly, and if you do it just a little tiny bit, it will feel more natural than stopping it completely, because your body will be moving kind of in a more natural pattern. And I found that when I let that little tiny buck at the top of that movement happen, that I'm feeling a lot less pain in my elbows. So I'm able to get a lot longer of a contraction, as well as not get injured while I'm doing this. This is just me personally. Again, you have to try everything for yourself. Another thing that I want to suggest is when you're doing these exercises, these tricep exercises, don't only think about, again, pushing your hands down. Think about your elbows being in place, whether they are or not. You're thinking about your elbows being in place, and the thing that's making the contraction happen is moving your hand downwards and also backwards. So moving it down towards your feet, but also behind your hips. When you pull that way, you're gonna get such a rounded contraction, and I swear, if you've never thought about doing it like that, when you try doing it like that, you're gonna feel a whole different contraction in your tricep. Now, something that I typically do on pretty much any tricep day is I will start with a metal handle bar on the tricep machine, and then I'll move into a cable, just so that I have a little bit more fluidity at the end of my exercises. Because if you're using a bar, obviously you're very static, your hands can't move or anything like that. But when you're using a rope, you have that about 5 to 7 inch area between your hand and the rope and the actual bridge of the rope, depending on how far you grab down. And that allows you to do a lot. When you come to the bottom of the movement, you can pull your hands apart, you can keep them close, you can twist your hands left and right, you can do a lot of different variation with these cables. So I like to use them as a kind of a burnout. I'll use heavier weight, and I'll be a little bit more intense with my bar, whatever I'm using on the cable. And then when I switch over to the cable ropes, then I'm able to just think about, okay, I haven't gotten a really good pump on the outside, or maybe on the inside of my triceps, so I need to concentrate on that. I'm gonna twist my hand outwards, I'm gonna twist my hand inwards. Maybe I'll hold my hands together so that I'm a little stronger and pushing narrow. Now, something else that I like to do towards the end of my tricep days, because I really never feel like I've ever pushed my muscles hard enough, even if they're fully fatigued. What I like to do is like this burnout, so it's just fitting more volume into less time. So in between sets of the last few sets of my back day, I'll go from doing tricep day, sorry. I'll do pushes with the cable, and then I'll go immediately after failing into these narrow grip push-ups. And the idea here is you want your thumb basically is going straight out from your shoulder, which means that your hands are slightly turned outwards instead of being straight up and down. And this is gonna give you a decent path in your bones as far as how to push. You're gonna hover your body a little forward, more so than you would on a regular push-up, putting more pressure into your triceps and less pressure into your shoulders and your chest. And you're gonna press through the heel of your hand, the palm of your hand. You're gonna push, and as you're doing that, you're trying to squeeze your tricep and straighten out your arm. And essentially the idea is all contraction, it's all feel, so it's all up to you to figure out how to push yourself to get your tricep to squeeze, because it's on you. That's the only reason you're doing it, is to make your tricep bigger. So don't just complete a bunch of push-ups, complete push-ups that are hitting your triceps. Now you can see I'm really fatiguing out here, so I'm definitely thinking about the last couple sets I'm approaching on. I was gonna do a push-up set there, but then I realized that what was happening was I was fatiguing a little too fast by doing that warm-up or that burnout. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking one of those burnout sets off and actually just literally just standing there breathing and recovering. And hopefully what this is allowing me to do is get my energy back up for this final burnout set where I'll be using the cables, and then I'll be going into push-ups again. And this will be the end of my tricep day. This will be me effectively fatiguing my triceps as much as I possibly can. Now, real quick guys, before I talk any more into this commentary, I would like to apologize for being so sweaty. I know you guys are just filling the comments up with it, how gross and sweaty I am during the workout as well as during the commentary. I'm a sweaty guy, man. It's very tough life for me. I'm sorry I don't have air conditioning. I know it's not that expensive, but I just can't do it right now. I don't have the money for it, so I apologize for being sweaty. But hey, we're in the fitness world. We're in the fitness lifestyle. We all understand sweat. We all understand that I'm about to take a shower after this, so it's all good, boys and girls. So let's get back to it. This is the last set of tricep pushdowns, and then obviously I'm gonna jump down here. See, again, I'm taking about 10 seconds of rest in between, even though those are supposed to be non-rested superset. I always think it's good to take at least 5 to 10 seconds to get that creatine, phosphate build up in your muscles, getting a few extra reps. You know, look at that tricep. The way I'm doing it, I'm keeping my elbows in so tight that I'm actually pushing my tricep away from where it usually is. So my triceps are being pushed outwards. So it makes it look really weird. You can see that. It looks like all my muscles on the outside of my arms because I'm pushing them out. And there we go. That is it for the tricep routine. We're now moving on to biceps. Now, if I would have, now my next back day, because I hit triceps first, I will hit biceps first on my next one. That way I don't favor one part of the body more than the other. But if you, for example, if you have a weak set of triceps over your strong biceps, then what you should do is you should always give the one that's weaker the first thing. So if it's weak on your triceps, then you should always do triceps first. You should go back and then triceps and then biceps. You know what I'm saying? Give that secondary, the isolation group, that one muscle, give that one first in line, I guess, priority, and then move on to the other one. So now what I'm doing here is I'm stretching. I like to stretch after every muscle group being completed. So on my back day, I like to stretch my back after the routine. You guys saw that. Now I'm doing my triceps. I just finished my last set of triceps. When the muscle is fully gorged with blood, it has the most blood in it, that's when I feel like is the best time to stretch, because it is the most expanded it's going to be. So it's already the closest it is to stretching into new territory, and then you're causing more stress and tension, so it's giving it even more of a stretch. Now what I just did, I want to explain, is a tricep stretch. You're basically going to grab around the handle of a plate, keep your elbow directly above your shoulder, and let your hand come behind you so that your elbow is literally right above your shoulder, because that's where you're going to feel that tricep stretch, and you're just going to hold it there. You're just going to hold for about 20 seconds, and that's going to allow your triceps to stretch out, and then you're just going to drop it. But you have to be very careful because this can hurt your shoulders. I don't suggest everyone do it. I suggest you do it with a lightweight before you do it with a heavyweight, so you're careful. Please, please always be careful. I don't want anybody to get injured by doing any of these things. Now, we are moving on to biceps. You've already been seeing me do this set for a little bit. Someone took the other weights. I was gonna use 45s, so I had to use 35s on this. So I know this is a really, really long set, but it was taking a while for me to get fatigued, so I just had to go really slow and tight. And when I do bicep, well, and I do any biceps at all, the thing that I like to think about, and really I guess with any muscle, but specifically with biceps, I like to try to squeeze as hard as possible. So when I come to that top of that movement, right there, I'm squeezing, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to squeeze that muscle. And when I'm squeezing it very deeply and violently, when I'm trying to think about squeezing it like as hard as I can, I'm getting a good contraction in my bicep. Like I'm forcing my mind to realize where my bicep is, and it's also starting to, like by squeezing my biceps hard, it's causing me to start thinking about where I'm deviating in my form and I'm not getting a bicep contraction. So if my elbows are moving forward and I'm using my front delts to start the movement, then by squeezing my biceps so hard, I'll think about that, I can feel that my shoulders are moving, and I'll stop it. It helps a lot. Sometimes in the middle of the workout, we break into a little bit of posing routines, and it's just, I mean, honestly, if you're a competitive bodybuilder, it's to check where you're failing at. Like right now I'm looking at my triceps and my biceps and seeing which one's bigger. Right now I'm looking at my left and right deltoids, seeing which is bigger. Don't hate on anybody who's doing this, because some people are doing it because they're douches and they just like want to look at themselves all pumped in the mirror, and you know that maybe that's a part reason that I'm doing it. But another reason is a lot of people are critiquing themselves, and yeah, you know, if they're not being malicious towards you, don't be malicious towards them. You know, don't think that I'm an asshole when I'm looking at myself in the mirror. When you know you're a soccer player and you watch review footage of you playing soccer, or a football player, and your coach is making you watch a replay footage. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's just doing their thing, man, and just let everybody do their thing and love them. Now, when you're doing these dumbbell curls, sorry, I had to break into that little like love fest there. When I'm doing these dumbbell curls, I'm twisting my pinkies up as I'm coming to the top of the movement, and then generally twisting my pinkies back down at the bottom of the movement. So when I'm at the bottom of the movement, they are facing forward and backwards, and then at the top of the movement, they're facing left and right. And by doing this, I'm able to get a more complete contraction in my bicep and less out of my forearm. So I'm able to isolate just literally the biceps a lot. And then you see that I'm not twisting them anymore, right? And that's because what I'll do a lot of times with the dumbbell curls is I'll mix both regular twisting curls with dumbbell hammer curls. And the reason is because I'm always stronger with my hammer curls than I am with twisting curls. So I'll start with the twisting curls, get to whatever rep it is that I'm about to fail at, maybe 8, and then I'm always able to get about half that amount of reps back with hammers. So I'll be able to go from 8 reps to 12 reps, whereas I would have failed right there. I'm then able to force myself by changing the form up a bit to force out extra reps. Now, this isn't you can't do this on every exercise, it's not always available, but if it is, then think about it. It's actually a pretty sweet tactic. If you don't have to change anything, you can instantaneously change the exercise by just not twisting your hands, and that allows you to be stronger. Why not take yourself to first failure and then second failure literally just by changing the hand motion, right? So that's just something I personally like to do. My forearms are relatively strong, so they don't burn out very easily, so I tend to do these types of forearm movements. You know, maybe I'll do a barbell curl and then switch immediately into a reverse curl and start using my forearms. And it won't burn me out too much to the point where I can't finish my bicep day, or it's like affecting my biceps or my arms workout. Simply just because my forearms are now strong enough to be able to endure during a workout, both their own direct work and the work they're being put through by doing other exercises. Generally, I like to do dumbbell or barbell curls. Like, I just really dig the free weights lately. Cables not so much, but all the time I switch. Like, all the time my phases are changing. I'm definitely a phase guy. I'm always in phases. And sometimes I'll be like all free weight for biceps, and then sometimes I'll be like all cables for biceps. It always switches. So keep in mind that everything is always switching. There's never one know-it-all, be-all way that everyone should be, and everyone's gonna be the most elite way this way. It's not like that. It's different for everybody. So make sure that you're doing what works for you and not just something that's working for someone else. And I'm seeing myself drinking water, and it's reminding that I should definitely drink some water. I'm dying, man. So at this gym, this is, like I said, it's a very hot gym. At this point is generally where I'm starting to get very lightheaded. I'm starting to get a lot of dehydration going and starting to get very fatigued. So I'm really having to force myself to continue pushing. And the best way, I would say, to keep your form good while you're getting fatigued at this point, especially when it comes to higher rep stuff where it's really on you to just engage things correctly and try not to be lazy, is to squeeze hard. Squeeze really hard. When you're squeezing those dumbbells, when you're grabbing those dumbbells, before you stand up with the dumbbells, grab around them perfectly how you want to hold them and squeeze the shit out of them. Don't stand up, excuse my language by the way, don't stand up and then shuffle them around in your hand, try to find the position in your hand while you're standing there and then start this. That's going to lose you a lot of tightness and tension and focus and everything. But if you already have them squeezed tight and you stand up, then you're going to be set and ready to start that exercise. Now all you have to do is think about your elbow positioning and whatnot. So I just finished dumbbells there, I'm moving on to barbell, and like I said, I just been loving these two, so I've just been really doing both of those repeatedly with different rep schemes and different like form types and stuff every workout, but generally those two exercises over and over and over. Now what I like to start with barbell is I like to use the wide grips, the wide curves there, and the wider it is, the more standard, oh, it looks like I'm starting with narrow, the more standard of a curl it is, meaning that you're gonna use a lot of all your muscle, like all your bicep. You're gonna use the outer head of your bicep as well as the inner, and when you're doing more narrow, you're definitely gonna isolate the bicep a lot more. So like when you're wider, you're gonna use your forearms, maybe your delts you're gonna use a little bit more, but when you're doing this narrow right here, this is what I want you guys to see. This narrow right here, like this is such a bicep pump. You keep your elbows in tight left and right as well as forward and backwards. You really let your arm fully stretch out. See at the bottom how I kind of lean forward, so let my arms stretch out. You let that bicep really stretch, get that stretch, and then that tight squeeze as you come up. And the more engaged you can be, the more like aware you can be, the harder you should try to squeeze at the top there and try to get it up. That's really, like I'm telling you, this is my favorite bicep pump exercise. I love, love, love the way it looks in the mirror, which is encouraging while you're exercising, but also just the contraction I get on it. Like my biceps are fully blasted at the end of it and they feel just tight. Whereas when I'm doing kind of a wider grip, I'm feeling my forearms get lit up a little bit more, and it's still a good bicep workout, but it's just not as direct. So what I'll do is I'll switch between the two. I'll do a little bit of wide grip, I'll do a little bit of narrow grip, generally go 1 for 1 each set, and then I finish with some reverse grip. So I guess we'll see what we do in this workout. I sort of honestly forget because it was at the very end of my workout and I was just about to pass out at this point. If anybody's wondering, I'm 6'1", I'm 23 years old, I'm 215 pounds, which is probably somewhere around maybe like 95 kilos. I'm just guesstimating, I really don't know. It's 2.2 pounds for each kilo. And I'll be competing in about 8 months from now, so I have about 4 months left in my bulk, which means I'm going to aim for about 225 before I start my cut for about 4 to 5 months, hopefully coming down from 225 down to about 200, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, hopefully coming in at about 5%, maybe 6% body fat, maybe less, maybe more. Again, we'll have to see, but this is the heaviest I've ever been at this lean, so it feels really, really good, and it's really encouraging to know that what I'm doing is working, and every year that I'm doing it is actually progression from last year, and I look better and I'm building something better than I had the previous year. That's important to me. I would never want to feel like I'm stagnating, especially if I felt like I was putting in my all, because I definitely feel like I'm putting in my all with all this. You see, I'm just rapping right there, getting all into it. When I listen to music during my workout, it's generally rap and hip hop. A lot of people ask me like, what kind of music I listen to. It's generally like trap, hip hop, rap, very like bassy stuff, not necessarily so lyrical anymore. I used to be very into like lyrical rap, Mortal Technique, like very like deep stuff that had actual meaning to it. But now I enjoy more so the beat than I do the actual lyrics. So like if it feels good, then it feels good. If it feels good to lift with that song because it's gangster and I feel like Darth Vader when I'm lifting, then I should do that exercise with that song, right? So I've been listening to a lot of trap and stuff like that. Generally, I don't listen to any rock or metal or anything like that. Sometimes I'll listen to symphonic music, some like Mozart, some Wagner, things like that, Earl King, stuff like that, of that nature. But generally, to be honest, it's almost every single time hip hop and trap, and this will be like Father Ain't Shit, I Love McConan, Awful Music, 2 Chainz is alright-ish, Maxo Cream, really anything, honestly. Fetty Wap sometimes is alright. Bobby Shmurda back before he got imprisoned. I like that hard stuff with heavy bass and like percussive rhythmic beats that I can time the repetition that I'm doing with a specific instrument. So if it's like a second hi-hat after every bass hit, it's all boom boom k, boom 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 k, boom boom k, boom 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 k. That kick, that's where I like to get to the top of my movement. Every time I contract, and obviously, as you go, your repetition, your tempo of your exercise is going to go a little slower, so you aren't going to be able to keep up with that beat. But in the beginning, it's a good cue, and it engages you into the song more than you thought. It makes you feel the song instead of listen to the song. You're now a part of the song. You're not lifting as a part of the song. The song is existing because you're performing that exercise. So it's a lot more engaging, and for me, it drives me a lot more, and it allows me to get a lot more intense and focused, especially if it's kind of like an angry, gangster, dark song, whatever it happens to be. Now I'm going to be rounding up the last bit of my routine here, and I'm going to be hitting just a few last sets. I hope you guys did enjoy this full routine. I know it's something very different than from what we usually do. This is not the general MO on the channel as far as, or really on fitness YouTube at all, a whole hour-long workout. I know it's a little bit long, and a lot of people aren't going to be able to make it to this point in the video, but that's not the point. The point is not for the video to be completely watched, and if you did, then that's awesome, and I'm so stoked that you were able to get benefited from watching the whole thing. But the point of this video is to show you exactly how long my workout can be, what I do during my workout, show you the rest periods, so you can see how long I'm really taking rest periods in. I'm not lying to you. I'm saying, hey, it's 50 seconds. You can count it. You can watch it. You're also seeing how my form form looks as I deteriorate through fatigue, as I get more tired throughout the routine and whatnot. You can see how I react. You can see what I'm thinking as I'm talking and watching myself. You can see essentially everything that you wouldn't be able to see if I just showed you one set of each exercise, just one set per exercise, and you just saw 8 sets real quick, and maybe it was a 10-minute video. Maybe that would have been a more applicable and easy to digest video for most people, but I feel like there is a need for you to not get as many views because the video is not as clickable, baitable, but the quality and the education and the purpose of this video is exponentially increased, in my opinion. To have a full workout to watch and reference in the future, I feel like is a lot more important. Also, this serves as day A or day 1 of low-high-low. So if you're watching this, then you know how to do the back, bi, and tri portion now of your low-high-low routine. Hopefully you can watch the day B and day C as they come out, as far as back, bi, and tri as its own day. Chest and shoulders, sorry, and then legs as its own day. Obviously, those are only 3 days of the low-high-low routine. And here's my final stretch that I do before the end of basically everything. And you see a little bit of bicep split there. That's good conditioning. That's come over 8 years. I'm very lucky and fortunate for that. And finally, the last thing I do before I finish this arm day, this back day, is every back day I do abs and lower abs specifically. So I'll hang from the bar, basically in pull-up position, squeeze my body tight, and then I'll bring my knees up. Whether I have my legs tucked or fully straight is up to how strong I'm feeling and how strong you're feeling, but this is just to get that final contraction in the abs there. So thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I'd really love to hear what you guys think about this. If you want to see more of these, if you enjoyed this style of video, if you did enjoy this style of video, I would love to make more, so please let me know in the comments below that you do want more. I would absolutely love to do these on a regular basis, not only just cover my workouts, but cover them constantly, so you're able to see, you know, what last week's back day looks like, and then in a couple more weeks you see another back day. If you guys want that sort of thing, please let me know. And if you have any suggestions, instead of maybe a full commentary, if you have something else you'd like to see, maybe if you want to see just 2 exercises or sets per thing, or if you just want to see 1 muscle group isolated, whatever it is, I want to know what you guys want to see, because it all comes down to you guys, to be honest. It always comes down to you guys. You guys are the reason we do this. I want to help you, and I want to provide content that's useful for you. So please, again, let me know what you want. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Help spread out the word. Spread out the word yourself if you'd like to. Share it on Facebook. That's massively helpful. It definitely gets the word out in one of the most direct ways, by you endorsing the video itself. Comment, let me know what you thought. That gives me insight, but also is good for the channel. And subscribe if you're not subscribed already, so you can see future videos that are coming. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. Thank you guys so much. Here's a little bit of post-workout posing for you. You can see where I'm at. I appreciate you guys joining in my journey on the way to 220, 225 towards my competition in the middle of June. And I hope that I can bring something very interesting, a good package to the stage. So we'll see what happens in the next 8 to 9 months. So thank you guys again. I appreciate you guys coming in here, checking out this video, showing love and support. Team Beyond the Week, CT.